Welcome to Century Communications Election 1996 Special. This is one for the 40th Assembly District, basically in the city of Los Angeles. It's an open seat. Barbara Friedman was and is the Assembly person, but she goes out of office at term limits after having spent 6 years. Those of you who remember Tom Bain was the Assemblyman before that should give you some kind of a clue, but we're going to ask the candidates themselves to tell us the geography of this particular district. Joining me are three of the candidates, and they are Bob Hertzberg, who's the Democrat, and he's a small businessman and an attorney. Good to have you, Bob.
Thank you kindly.
Kelley L. Ross, who's the Libertarian, and he's a college philosophy instructor. Good to have you, Kelley. And David L. Cossack, who's the Natural Law Party, and he's a businessman. Thank you, all three of you, for coming. And viewers, the Republican hasn't shown, and his name is Ron Culver. We made every effort, he's a small businessman, for him to be part of the show, but apparently he hasn't been showing to much of the candidate forums throughout the district. So we do have three of the four, and we're glad you're watching this with us. The candidates have agreed to a 90-second open and a 90-second close, and then questions within this half hour from me to them. So sit back and let's enjoy this, and we'll start with Bob Hertzberg, who's the Democrat, small businessman attorney. 90 seconds, tell us your background and why you're running, and tell us the dimensions of the district, too.
Great, thank you, and thank you very much for having this,
pleasure,
this forum. I appreciate it. Bob Hertzberg is my name. I am the Democratic nominee for the 40th Assembly District, and that district is in the flatlands, the heartland as I call it, of the San Fernando Valley. It extends on the east from Cahuenga Boulevard in North Hollywood all the way out to Topanga in Winnetka and Canoga Park. The northern boundary is Roscoe, and the southern boundary, except for Studio City, is the 101 freeway. So it includes 13 communities in the city of Los Angeles. I want to take my 1 minute of remaining time here to make one important point, and really is consistent with what you do here at Century Cable. I am deeply concerned about the level of participation in the political process. The only way our democracy survives, in my judgment, is if we all participate, whether we participate at the political level or involved with community groups. Throughout my campaign, I worked as hard as I possibly could, and when elected, if elected, I intend to work as hard as I can with community groups, of which there are more than 1,000 I've inventoried, by the way, in the 40th Assembly District, to get them involved, to be a catalyst for individual citizens to become involved in community projects and the like. I am one of those types of political people that believes in politics the old-fashioned way, door-to-door, face-to-face, and instead of getting up at the podium and making an announcement every day of a new cure for cancer, I'm the kind who believes that a lot of what politics is about is just the day-to-day hard work of servicing people's needs, of listening to the community, and being a really good representative in Sacramento.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your opening comments. Kelley.
Hi, well, my name is Kelley Ross. I teach philosophy at LA Valley College, and I get to teach about 3 blocks from where I live and where I grew up, because I was born and raised in San Fernando Valley, and later got to travel the world a bit. I went to school in Lebanon and Texas and Hawaii and a few places like that. And now I get to be the candidate for the Libertarian Party for the State Assembly. And I think I could characterize the Libertarian Party as believing in basically 2 things. One is individual liberty. What you do with your body and your property is your business. And so people like to say the Libertarians are socially liberal or socially tolerant. And I think that's an accurate description. On the other hand, the Libertarian Party believes in the free market and capitalism, and believes in limited and constitutional government. At the moment, I do not believe that we have either limited or constitutional government, and I think a lot of people would simply like to be left alone. And I think the kind of issue of participation in the government is that there is too much to participate about. I think Benjamin Franklin is supposed to have said that democracy will survive only until people get the idea they can vote themselves money. And I think we are well past that point today. And I think a lot of people who participate in politics do so because they want something from somebody else. And that's just the problem, that if you can vote yourselves money, you have to take it from somebody. And they're not going to like that, and it's also going to hurt the economy if you do that kind of thing, because real jobs, real growth, and even President Bill Clinton has said this, comes from private investment. And so the kind of thing that the Libertarian Party would look for is cutting taxes and decreasing government. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelley. David.
Yes, my name is Dave Cossack. I'm with the Natural Law Party. What if somebody came to you and said, I have scientifically proven solutions to our problems? And what if this person said, I have a program that will reduce crime by 20% the first year and is still cost effective? What happens if this person said, I have a health care program that will save 50% on our health care costs? And what if this person said, I have a program that will stop the use of poisonous chemical pesticides and still be effective, cost-effective for our farmers? Would you listen to this? My name is David Cossack. I'm with the Natural Law Party, and we have these programs that can be put into place immediately. They are scientifically proven, and we've used them all across the nation, and we can do it here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all three for your opening comments. And if we could just cue off of what you said, Bob, in the beginning about political process and participation. Why aren't people participating in the process? How do you get them to participate in the process? What needs to be done to make our democracy work?
Well, I think that part of it is just the complexity of the process. It is just extraordinary. I work as hard as I possibly can in trying to understand what goes on. You in the show spend a great deal of time dealing with the challenges and issues of the day. And part of it, it's just so extraordinarily difficult. That together with the challenges of raising a family and taking care of your kids and going to soccer games and all the other kinds of things you've got to do. But despite those pressures, the only way the system works is that if everybody participates, everybody carries their fair share and gets involved. And I think particularly, and an agenda to me that's very important at the state level is to kind of refocus what we do at the state level as state legislators. I intend to have my chief of staff here in the district office. I intend to have a storefront office for my district office if I'm lucky enough to prevail in this election. And I intend to involve have a whole host of programs that are going to reach out and involve a number of volunteers that can work in conjunction with the office and really reach out. There's a number of things, new ideas departments, a number of different things where we're really going to proactively go out and reach out to people.
Would campaign finance reform have any impact on you in terms of the political process?
Well, I think term limits probably is the biggest issue because it forces the process with the assembly members now, you only have 6 years in office. Yeah. So the whole focus now when you go into office is very different. I've been working very hard for a long time, even during my campaign, to prepare because no longer can you be a backbencher and sit back and try to learn the process and figure out things. You've got to be ready to go. So I think that process has had a huge impact. Campaign finance reform, I think, would have some impact, but I think the larger issue on the campaign finance issue was really the power of incumbency, which now is so short that that most of that advantage is gone.
And Kelley, how do you what do you feel about what he just said, and how would you get people involved in the political process and also campaign reform and term limits?
I think most people don't want to be involved in the political process. I think most people want to live their lives, do their job, have fun, do their hobbies, go places, and the last thing they want is have to worry about going and clashing with a bunch of other people, fighting over the kinds of benefits and privileges that the government can hand out these days. So if I were elected to the Assembly, the kind of thing I'd like to do is if I heard from a constituent who's being hassled by somebody in the government, I would make sure not only that they stop being hassled, but that person in the government doesn't have the kind of power they already have to go out and hassle people. And the kind of issue I think is the most important in this respect right now is the new smog check program, because now all of the monetary limits on what you have to pay to repair your car have been removed. And that means you could spend $1,000 getting your car fixed to pass the smog check, and if it fails, the car can actually be seized by the state, and you're left with nothing, and you're out of all your money. And the old principle that older cars are sort of grandfathered in, that has been abolished. So if you have a 1957 Thunderbird, which was not built to pass the smog check now, and that could get seized by the state, and they'd only pay you about $600 for it, and it might actually be worth thousands of dollars. And so what the hell kind of law is that? And who are the idiots that thought this stuff up?
Okay, well then the frustration with the law is part of the problem there, David. What would you do to increase participation in the political process?
Well, I'd make it easier for them. It's everybody's responsibility to participate. What I would do is have an 800 number set up or a phone number set up, a voicemail, and I'd have everybody be able to participate. I'd have information on that number, that what was being voted on, what things were being considered. I'd let them register their vote and tell me what they want done. It's a simple matter to get the information out if all they have to do is push a phone number and find out what's going on in the assembly this week.
David, if I could just stay with you and talk about breakup, since this is part of the Valley there, would you be for, if you were in the assembly, the breakup of LA City? Would you be for the breakup of the LA Unified School District? What's your sensing of both those issues?
I would be in favor of break up the LA Unified School District. I think it's out of control. I think there's too much administration and not enough participation for what they can do. There's a program that I've introduced to a couple of schools, and they're thinking about it, that for the grade schools that reintroduces the arts to the classrooms. In other words, they get out of school at 1:30 in the afternoon, so from 1:30 or 2:30 to 5:30, what we do is we have teachers or graduate students from the university come in, teach art, piano, music, on their and get paid for it, and also have seniors come in there and assist the student teaching the class.
What about LA City as a city? Would you go for the breakup of that?
I think, you know what, the San Fernando Valley is not getting its fair proportionate of funds that we're giving. I think it would be cost effective to have our own city, and I think we'd be up there in the top 12 cities if we broke off.
Okay, Kelley, your opinion of both those issues, the LA Unified School District and the city?
Well, I think the school district should certainly be broken up. Over the last 30 years, the number of school districts in the country has decreased dramatically, and during that same period, the quality of education has plummeted. And the other phenomenon that's occurred during that same period is the power of the teachers' unions. One of the things I'd like to see the state do is prevent the teachers' unions from collecting involuntary dues from teachers that do not want to participate, because all the teachers' unions have done is driven up the cost of education and driven down the quality, because it's become almost impossible to fire incompetent teachers.
What do you do about the city itself? Would you break that?
Well, I don't really have an opinion. I kind of like Los Angeles being Los Angeles, but I think it certainly should be put to a vote. And if the people in the valley want to break away from the city, then it would be slavery to prevent them from doing that.
Okay, Bob, how do you feel about both those issues?
Can I just add one thing that Kelley had mentioned earlier on this issue of participation? I sent out a community survey in my campaign. I have over 1,000 people that indicated that they would be willing to participate. I walked on, talked to thousands of people and knocked on thousands of doors. And I'm telling you, if you give people something meaningful to do, they want to be involved. They want a sense of community. They want to be involved in their neighborhood.
Well,
but onto this issue of kind of dovetails into this issue. It's my experience. This issue of both the schools and secession. With respect to the schools, let me deal with the city first. I was one of the few Democrats that had I been in the legislature, I would have voted for the Bolin bill. I thought it made sense. Basically, the way the law works, there's an agency called the Local Agency Formation Commission, LAFCO is the acronym. And I actually, when I sat down and looked at this issue, I read the 174 pages of the statute. And in essence, what happens when there's what's called the detachment, meaning that portion of the San Fernando Valley which belongs to the city, which would be detached, and then there'd be an incorporation. The process that you have to go through is extraordinary. The bondholders have to approve. There has to be economic testing to ensure that there's a fair split of obligations. It's extraordinary, the process. And then you get to the end of that process, and then there's an election as part of that process of the people of the San Fernando Valley, and then the city council for the city has the right to veto. I thought that didn't make sense at all. So I supported that. With respect to the larger secession issue, I don't know the answer to it. Seems to me that if it made some sense in the larger picture, it's certainly worth entertaining. I don't think anybody, I've talked to a tremendous number of people, really know what the economic or social consequences of that are. I personally am strongly in favor of this whole move with respect to charter reform that's going on. I think that's really deals with the larger issue and will solve the problems that we face in terms of neighborhood services, whether it's through neighborhood councils, a borough system, but a dramatic restructuring of how the city of Los Angeles is organized. With respect to the school district, very briefly, I'm not convinced that